Welcome to the Orange Report, all the news and views you can use from around California, Orange County, and America, because California news is America news. I'm your host, Kira Davis. Sunshine is the best disinfectant, so let's bring on the sunshine. Well, it's been a while since we've sat in this chair for the Friday show. As you guys know, we do live shows 3 days a week from our home studio, and that's more the podcast format. And then for our weekend shows, we like to compile some of our best stories of the week and give you some extra commentary for the Orange County crowd here in California as well. But the news that you hear here is also valuable across the U.S. And I think that's because we're coming to realize in this country that there's no more powerful government than the government at your local level. So even if some of these stories don't apply to you where you are in your state or your city, they absolutely do in some way or another. So I want to thank everyone for being here and pay attention. Something similar may be going on where you live. Let's look in at some of the headlines across California and Orange County before we get started with some of our other stories. From the California Post, fresh hell for California drivers as Gavin Newsom quietly hikes the gas tax again. Californians are set to be hit by further gas price hikes as Gavin Newsom quietly slipped through another tax increase. The governor sent out a notice on Monday signaling the gas tax will increase by about 2 cents beginning July 1st. The tax will increase from 61.2 cents a gallon to 63.4 cents for regular gas. Diesel fuel saw a smaller jump at about 1.5 cents. So there you go. If you like your gas, you can keep your gas, but you just won't be able to afford your gas. From the Orange County Register, following bruising legal battles and fines, Huntington Beach approves overdue housing plan. Facing at least $170,000 in court-approved fines for violating state mandates, Huntington Beach city leaders adopted a required housing element to accommodate the construction of more than 13,000 units, which will need to be updated again in 3 years. The city council voted 5-2 this week to update the city's general plan as required by a court order. You may remember this case, which also imposed penalties of $50,000 a month for non-compliance. Council members Chad Williams and Andrew Gruhl voted against approving the plan. The council members who voted for the updated housing element said they did so only to avoid saddling taxpayers with more fines. Mayor Casey McKeon said that the vote is not the final step and that he will continue looking for other ways to restore local control over housing construction. Just understand that we fight every single day with whatever we can to protect our local control to zone our city the way our residents elected us to zone it, McKeon said. Every city is unique. We all have environmental elements, typography, and finite resources. While in the Hotel California, you can check in, but you can never check out, and you'll have to live with 15,000 other people on your hotel floor. Okay, let's see. This next story, again from the Orange County Register. Oh boy, Disneyland adults might want to pay attention to this one. Disneyland must retire their gas-powered Autopia cars by February. Oh, Disneyland is getting hit by the green energy monsters. Disneyland faces a February deadline to retire Autopia's gas-powered engines or close the 1955 opening day Tomorrowland attraction under a settlement agreement with the state agency that regulates air pollution in California. Mice Chat reports that Disneyland faces a state-mandated deadline to retire gas-powered cars on Autopia by February 1st or shut down the attraction. Climate-colored goggles discovered Autopia's state-mandated deadline for retiring the gas cars after filing a California Public Records Act request with the California Air Resources Board to review a copy of Disney's settlement compliance plan. Democrats are so morally bankrupt, they'll even come for Mickey Mouse and his transportation. And a final uplifting headline from the LA Times, LA City Council agrees to put non-citizen voting on the November 3rd ballot. The Los Angeles City Council on Wednesday moved forward with a wide-ranging package of potential revisions to the city's constitution, including taking a first step towards giving non-citizens, I'll say that again, non-citizens, the right to vote in city elections. The non-citizen voting measure was a part of the package proposed by city charter changes that would be placed before voters on the November 3rd ballot. The package also includes a measure that would allow the council to set policy at the Los Angeles Police Department. I'll read that again. They want to give rights to non-citizens to vote and would also allow the city council to set policy at the Los Angeles Police Department. Perhaps the city council should just take a page out of the game show playbook and allow for people to just phone a friend when they vote. Count it all. Why not? Well, that's your wrap up of the headlines from around California and Orange County. Let's get to some of our more interesting stories this week. I want to start with what is going on in Irvine. The Irvine City Council met. They want to increase taxes. I mean, this is just amazing to me. It is stunning to me that the number one concern for Californians and Americans, as we found out in 2024, is the cost of living. Number two, I think, is like homelessness and or crime. But cost of living is top of mind for every Californian. It's so bad even Democrats are talking about it. Javier Becerra is campaigning on it, as of course Steve Hilton is, the Republican. The affordability is the term out of a lot of Democrats' mouths these days. Of course, they don't mean it. As President Trump says, it's an issue they made up because they made things unaffordable. But it's just astounding. They're running on the issue, but then everywhere they have the chance to legislate, like our governor up in Sacramento, they want to increase taxes. In fact, in Los Angeles, as those mysterious late ballot drops have come in and catapulted Nithya Raman above Spencer Pratt, it's also incredibly catapulted Measure ER, which is a sales tax increase in LA that was losing on election night. Now it's going to win. In a state where everyone's complaining about affordability all the time, why are Democrats still raising taxes? It's almost like they don't care about you. Well, one politician does care about that question. James Mai is the vice mayor of the city of Irvine, and he's a Republican in a heavily blue city. And he had some words for the city council when they were considering raising taxes. Check this out.
This is Vice Mayor James Mai. He is the Vice Mayor of Irvine. Now, I need you to know what a big deal that is because Irvine is a heavily Asian community and it's very Democrat as a result. And James Mai is a Republican. So he ran on just being of service to the community. He is a great servant of the community. He runs like a youth club. He does food collection for the food banks. Like, he's a really great guy, a pretty amazing guy. And he won just on being an authentic community servant. And he was able to be elected in this heavily Democrat area. He serves now as the vice mayor of Irvine, which is a hugely influential city, very wealthy city here in South Orange County. Now, they are going through their budget process, and the Irvine City Council has decided, well, we're a little bit cash strapped. And because in California, we can't raise taxes unless the people vote for it, because that's what we had to do. This is what pure democracy looks like, people. You can't depend on your representatives to do the representing for you. So then you got to go and get a constitutional amendment that says only the people can vote to raise their own taxes. And then you get to where we are now, which is, huge corruption in our electoral system, because then we never want to raise taxes because it's so expensive and all they ever want to do is raise taxes to fix things. And so what do they do to raise taxes? They find other ways to do it. They either raise fees. They're basically taxes, but they call them fees, or they cheat. Just like the Measure ER in Los Angeles, which was soundly, roundly defeated on election night, coming in at 53% of the votes. That's trending for, that should have been called that night. That's a trend to be called that night, but they didn't call it, just like they didn't call the Spencer Pratt race. And when you know, somehow, all of a sudden, it flipped and the yes votes are winning. So somehow in Los Angeles, people felt like life wasn't expensive enough, and so they raised their own taxes somehow. So James Mai is, the Irvine City Council is now looking, they can't raise taxes. So now they're going to institute new fees. They need new fees. The city is in a deficit, yada, yada, yada. You've heard it all before. I wanted to play this for you because this is one vice mayor in one town in California, but this needs to be everywhere. We need to replicate this guy, replicate this speech. As far as I'm concerned, every Republican politician should be giving this same speech when it comes to spending money, when it comes to asking the people for more of their money. All right, let's go ahead and play this.
As well, and regarding budgeting, regarding our budget on City Council, we're in the black as well, and very committed to reducing our spend, which is pretty fiscally conservative. Thanks for the report. Thanks for all the information here. I mean, I love to hear that we have our reserves are $1.7 billion in our investment fund. We have reserves. You know, one of the things I have to tell you, just from my first initial comments, are we had an issue last meeting. We had an issue about potential taxes that were going to go on to residents. This report, I mean, this mid-cycle report here, it talks about increasing fees. We didn't want to tax residents. No taxes, no new taxes. Let's not explore that. So instead, what I'm hearing now, because we don't hear the full picture about the cuts that we need to do, we just hear about increasing fees. So what I'm hearing, and what from just a layman's point of view, is that we're not going to tax, we're not going to explore any new taxes. We're just going to increase fees across the board to make up for our lack of control in spending and salaries. That's not what we asked for. We asked for a motion. We had a motion here for August to address all of it in one package. Taxes are not in there, but we asked in August to come back with potential increased revenue, potential cuts all in one, so we can take a look at the entire thing. This is a piecemealed presentation here. I don't see anything about cutting expenditures. I hear it right now. I just heard it from Sean. I hear of it. I don't hear about it in your report. If you're going to give a report, even a basic one, so that people know the first line or first response to a deficit potential is one-time funds. What are we going to do in the future? One-time funds to address this deficit, and increases across the board from all usage fees. That's not the initial go-to for anyone. I'm not for that, not for taxes, not for let's increase and punish the people for our lack of control. I said that, I'll say that twice. We have a lack of control and we need to address that. But that's it for now. I'm gonna hear from the public and anyone else, but that's just my thoughts on it. I find it a little inappropriate because we don't have the full picture. We just have, let's increase fees and let's punish residents.
I feel like we have some clapter in here in the media tab. I want everybody to see this, okay? This is Orange County News, but this is Orange County News, but everybody should see this and everybody should demand this. And this is what I always tell you. If you don't know how to start learning about what's going on in your own community and how to hold your politicians accountable, particularly your local, you got to start local because those people matriculate up. You can't start at the top. This is a bottom up problem, not a top down. So you have to start locally. And if you want to know where to start, just pick a meeting and go to it. Like literally any meeting. And that's why I like to show you these meetings. It'll change you. And I promise you, it could be any meeting in government. It will change you. Go to one, just one. That is who you should see at your city council meetings. You should see a guy like James Mai, who is saying we should never, our first solution should never be to punish the people for a lack of income into our coffers. Whenever we see that we have a budget deficit, or wherever we see that we are in financial distress as government, as a governing body, our first question, this is what James is saying, and you should hear this from every city council in America. Our first question should not be how much more money can we get from the people. The first question should be, what can we cut to balance our sheets? When is the last time you ever saw or heard your local government cutting? And I get it, because every time they mention the word cut, then there's a million protesters who come and go, you can't cut. My kid will starve if he can't get 3 meals a day for free at school. That should be normal, what he said. That should be normal. The approach to government spending issues or income issues should be, what can we cut to deliver to the people what we promised? And if we have to cut some services, then we have to cut some services. But people, let me tell you this, they always start with the services. They don't have to. Do you know how much waste is in our government? Even in your local government, they don't have to start with your gym teachers and your art teachers and your youth programs. They don't have to. They choose to do that because the misery is the point. They want to deliver you maximum misery. So you'll come and complain and be like, oh my gosh, we need this money. My kids can't go play on the playground.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor James Mai, for standing up for the average citizen. I think he brings up some good points. It's ridiculous. We should no longer accept the first option to rectify any city budget being raising taxes on the citizens of California. It's absolutely insane. That should absolutely be unacceptable. Every city council should have to go through their spending first, do a full audit of their budget first before they propose new taxes to the public. James Mai is absolutely right. And by the way, I just want to say that I think this is how, and I said it on the show, I want to repeat it. I think this is how every local politician should sound, the way that James Mai sounds. Whether you are in Oklahoma or California, your politician should always be asking first, what can we as the government cut before we go to our citizens and punish them? That's the standard. That's the example right there. Thank you, Vice Mayor James Mai. We'll keep an eye on those taxes in Irvine. All right, for our next story, we covered the case of a human trafficker who was convicted to 79 years in prison for trafficking, rape, prostitution, other charges. He has had his conviction overturned. Why? Racial bias. Oh boy, does this sound familiar? This gentleman was convicted by a jury, sentenced to 79 years, and his lawyers appealed it on the basis of racial bias, saying that the court and the officers of the court brought up his race over and over again. I find this to be an absolutely outrageous story. I want you to take a listen and then let me know what you think.
But this is a story that I saw from Orange County Register. OC judge here in Orange County throws out human trafficking conviction of third striker because of racial bias. This is this man's third strike, and the judge threw out the trial, the conviction, and it's going to go to a retrial, actually. So he's not going free because of racial bias. A defense attorney said the defendant's race was referred to over and over and over again during his 2017 trial. Well, let's read. A third striker sentenced to 79 years to life in prison for human trafficking, rape, and other felonies. 79 years. You can look at this man. You can look and see what he looks like. Has been granted a new trial because an Anaheim police detective showed racial bias on the witness stand. Orange County Superior Court Judge Richard King last month overturned the 2017 conviction, ruling that the detective's testimony that pimps are generally black violated the state's Racial Justice Act. This is the first I knew about the Racial Justice Act. I'm going to have to read that. We're going to break that down on this show for sure. In a 51-page ruling, King said the only remedy for then Lieutenant Craig Friesen's statements was to throw out the conviction of defendant Chaz Jackson, 38, who is black. Such testimony was completely unnecessary, the judge said. Instead, it was a stereotype of racial character evidence presented to the jury, which was not needed in any way to prove guilt. Well, let's read on. And I want you, the OC Register, don't be fooled by the name. It's in Orange County. It's not a conservative paper. It's not a red paper. All right. Prosecutors say they will retry the case. The allegations in this case are horrific, and we believe the strength of the evidence in this case, said Kimberly Edds, a spokesperson for the Orange County District Attorney's Office. We remain resolute in our pursuit of justice for the young women, multiple, who were victimized. Anaheim Police defended its former detective. We respect the court's decision, but respectfully disagree on the outcome and any suggestion of motivation in testimony. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Attorney Catherine Hallinan, representing Jackson, called the ruling huge. In this case, they were tying the likelihood of his race. Hallinan said his race was referred to over and over again. Okay, so I want you to look at this. How many paragraphs am I in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 paragraphs into this story, and you have not read one full quote from the detective, and you have not heard any details about what was said. 7 paragraphs in, you're just supposed to believe that there was racial bias, and he said things that were racially biased, but that's it. 7 paragraphs in to the paper of record here in Orange County. Pathetic. Jackson was convicted of human trafficking a group of women, raping 2 of them, pimping, attempting to persuade 1 witness not to cooperate with authorities, and several other felonies. Some of them, they should have had that at the top. They buried the lead. Some of the women were minors when they met Jackson. Jackson was arrested after one of the victims called her mother while he was away. Appearing as an expert witness, here we go, paragraph 10. Appearing as an expert witness for the prosecution, Friesen, then the head of the county's human trafficking task force, testified. So within I want you to pay attention. I'll read this slower because I'm going to tell you what happened. Appearing as an expert witness for the prosecution, Friesen, then the head of the human trafficking force, said, so within the prostitution/pimping/human trafficking world, for the most part, and I hate to racially categorize, but for the most part, the people involved, the pimps, are generally black. Under further questioning, he said, I can tell you that the majority of the people we arrested were of African-American descent. Attorney Hallinan also accused the late trial judge, Stephen D. Bromberg, of racial bias in his instruction to jurors. All right. Let's go back to what Lieutenant Friesen said about that. I hate to say this. Most of the people involved are black. You know what this report fails to mention? It fails to tell you what the question was. So it's just giving you that statement, right? Which in isolation, you're like, okay, why would he say that? Yeah, you should ask yourself, why would he say that? Do you think he brought that up organically? Do you think he was sitting there saying, you know what, we rescued these girls, they were being raped, we rescued these girls out of sex trafficking. Oh, and by the way, most of the men involved in this are black. Do you think that's how that went? What was the question he was asked that prompted the answer? Right? And he even says in this answer that they included, he even says, like, I hate to racially categorize. I'm going to bet that the question from this attorney centered around why they arrested and suspected a black man. But he's the one who's being accused of racial bias. Reading on, Hallinan accused the judge also. I wonder when I said that this was a criminal case, how many of you looked at counsel table? You see 3 gentlemen sitting at counsel table. You can't see their faces yet. You're probably going to get a chance to meet them. And you probably figured, well, 2 of them are lawyers. And you see and you see one gentleman, an African-American, he's black, Bromberg said. You probably figured that he's the defendant. Yep, he's the defendant. That's Mr. Jackson, Chaz Jackson. Again, what prompted that? She went through the transcript, pulled out every reference to black, but what prompted it? What was the lawyer saying? What was the defendant accusing them? Was the defendant accusing the judge of making a judgment about the people who are sitting at the table. And the judge was maybe just, I'm not saying that that's what it is, but again, you have to ask what's the moment before. OC Register did not do their due diligence here. Surprise, surprise. Hallinan's motion argued that Bromberg's statement was discriminated and tainted the jury. By its plain language, a statement explicitly equates blackness with criminality. It does not. King disagreed, saying that when taken with further statements, Bromberg's remarks were not a violation, but part of an admonishment to the jury that Jackson was innocent until proven guilty. Once again, Orange County Register buries the lead. The Racial Justice Act, enacted in California in 2020, the summer of love, prohibits bias towards a defendant based on race, ethnicity, or national origin. Hello, Rupert Lowe and the rape report. And UK grooming gangs. This is how this happens. Two-tier justice. That's two-tier justice. We got to get rid of this in Orange County. We got to get rid of the Racial Justice Act. We got to get rid of it. That's one step towards UK rape gangs. We're here, everybody. We are here. And again, the judge was pointing out, you can't use racial bias. You're going to look and you're going to immediately assign. So if you're planning on assigning some guilt due to race, you can't do that. That's what the judge was saying. On June 12th, and scrolling down a little bit, Superior Court Judge Michael Cassidy reduced a potential sentence for a Chilean national accused of burglary after finding that the district attorney Todd Spitzer showed racial bias in the case. I guess if you mention it, it's racial bias. Spitzer vowed to appeal it all the way to the Supreme Court. He should. Okay, that's the end of that. He should. We are here. In Orange County, the Orange County Board of Supervisors just made the Islamic holiday of Eid an official government holiday. We recognize it officially. We are here. We do not want to get to the place where the UK is. I think we need to really deal with this. We really do.
I talked on the show earlier this week about, on one of our other segments, about the UK rape gang report that has come out from Rupert Lowe and his Restore party. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look at any of it or see any of the videos or influencers talking about it, but it is deeply disturbing. And one of the issues over in the UK, besides their complete collapse into communism and Islamism, one of the biggest issues there is their two-tier police system. So white people get one level of policing, and then black and brown, everybody else, gets another level of policing. That's what led to the tragic, horrific murder of Henry Novak at the hands of the UK police, who did not believe him when he was screaming that he was bleeding to death. And then, of course, what happened? He bled to death. That's a result of their two-tier system. So this story, I think, is really important because it sets up a two-tier system for us. We actually already have it. This Racial Injustice Act, I've never read it. I need to go back and read that. I think that's very dangerous. It's probably unconstitutional, according to our federal constitution. But listen, folks, take all of this as a warning. This is setting up a two-tier system of justice, and that's going to lead to what they have in the UK. And I don't know about you, but I don't want anything to do with that. So keep your eye on this story, and maybe you might want to head to some of your city council meetings, the board of supervisors meetings from time to time, and let these people know in the public comments that you expect justice to be served without respect to race, ethnicity, religion. That's your right as an American citizen. This should disturb everybody. I am deeply disturbed by this. Keep your eye on this. We'll loop back on it. All right, let's move ahead here. I think the biggest story of the week in California and across America was the Gavin Newsom investigation. Gavin Newsom came out kind of out of the blue, actually. No one was really expecting this. He's been gone. No one knows where this guy is. All of a sudden, we see him making an announcement. The Trump administration is looking into he and his wife. He really didn't give a lot of details about what the investigation entailed, but it was very odd to see him come out and make a statement about this out of the blue, blaming President Trump, but there were a few details he left out. We talked about it on the show this week, and I broke down his announcement word for word. Check this out.
Let's go ahead and play that.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees, not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president. Because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies and to try to jail his opponents. His personal attorney now runs the Department of Justice, which has repeatedly gone after his political enemies. Ask Jerome Powell. Sent them after.
Who is Rob Bonta? Rob Bonta is Gavin Newsom's personal. Well, he's not even an attorney. He doesn't have a license to practice law, but he is his personal attorney general. That's what Rob Bonta does. Rob Bonta is Gavin. I always do this. Gavin Newsom. I always do this. The Gavinator's personal attack dog, just the way Obama used Eric Holder. I'm going to have Scott start this again, but I want you to listen as we're listening to the words he's saying. And I want you to understand that this is all projection. This is all, everything he is saying is what they are doing. Everything he is complaining about is what he is doing. Once you start framing it like that, he starts to look a lot more ridiculous. Okay, go ahead.
James Comey, Trish, James, Adam Schiff. He sent them after Tim Walz, and a woman that a jury found Donald Trump had sexually abused.
They're still hanging on.
One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly join that list. After calling for my arrest last year, Donald Trump directed his Department of Justice to investigate me. And just in the last week, I've learned that his campaign has reached my own home. To get me, he's coming after my wife, Jen, a public servant, a woman who's dedicated her life.
Excuse me, sir. I think you mean first partner. You've incorrectly labeled your wife. You have misgendered her. It's first partner, sir. Please continue. Hit play.
To supporting women and girls. Someone who has done nothing wrong other than having the temerity to advocate for what she believes in.
Pause. We're going to talk about what Jennifer Siebel Newsom has done wrong. Wow. She's done nothing wrong. She is at the heart of an NGO scandal that broke last month, or I think the month before. And do we need to bring up the Harvey Weinstein stuff? She's a terrible person. I have spent a lot of time on this show talking about her because she disgusts me. I actually really do have no respect for her. A lot of times I understand that the wives of politicians are sort of trapped in an agreement, or they have an agreement with their husband. Look, we're partners in this. This is all crazy. But a lot of times the wives are unwilling victims of their weirdo husbands. I do not think that is the case with Jennifer Siebel Newsom. Furthermore, we talked about her revelations about killing her sister when she was a child. And I do have reticence about describing it as that because it wasn't a deliberate, it doesn't seem like it was deliberate, but I don't really know, to be honest. And again, she was a child, so there's all of that to take into account. But when you listen to her describe, it was actually very It was very disturbing the way she describes it. It's a disturbing incident. I get that. But the way she describes it, there's something very haunting and disturbing about it. Actually, when she was talking about it, it did make me wonder if she did it on purpose. I don't think she meant to kill her sister, but it made me wonder if she meant to hurt her sister. And then when that desire turns into that outcome, what kind of person does it make you? And then, of course, you know, you can go to our dubbed Gavin Newsom series where we dubbed Jennifer a few months ago too. Then she's got the whole thing where she wants to make her boys into girls, gives them dolls, doesn't give them trucks. You saw the picture of Gavin with his son at the World Cup the other day. All body language is made up of one of two things, closed or open. You are either closed or open. And Gavin Newsom's son, standing there between two communists, his dad and Karen Bass, was very closed. That's the very son that Jennifer Newsom was bragging about giving dolls to growing up and not giving boy things to, raising to be more feminine. That's the son. These people are not okay. Furthermore, and we're going to talk about this, Gavin framed this as President Trump opening the investigation. As we have found out, of course, the investigation was opened during the Biden administration in 2022. So it's very interesting that he's framing it like this. Go ahead.
Me, they'll go after the mother of our children. Donald Trump picked the wrong target. We have nothing to hide. His political operatives can take.
Does anyone believe the Newsoms have nothing to hide? Does anyone believe any politician has nothing to hide? If you had nothing to hide, then you would throw open the doors, invite the DOJ in, and tell them, come scrutinize our very transparent system of governance. I love that. I love the image that this is paused on. Come scrutinize our government, right? Come scrutinize these NGOs. We have nothing to hide. Everything we do is above board. Come look at that train to nowhere. High-speed rail. We've totally got it. High-speed rail. We're on top of it. We've got nothing to hide. Palisades fire, nothing to hide. Our electoral system, nothing to hide. Does anyone look at Gavin Newsom, those teeth and that hair, and think that he has nothing to hide? Continue.
Record and read every page, but they'll be looking in the wrong place. Because if they really want to find corruption, look no further than 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Donald Trump is selling the presidency. He's running the largest cash heist in American political history, trading foreign tariff relief for approval of his golf courses, day trading behind the Resolute desk, reaping hundreds of millions of dollars in personal profit. And he's doing it openly. He's doing it on camera. He did it last night on the White House lawn. He's doing it through cryptocurrencies. He's doing it through the receipt of a $400 million private jet from a foreign government that he plans to keep when he leaves office.
Pause.
Through his son.
Sir, do not lecture us about foreign governments having their hands in American policy anywhere else in the country. You absolute, complete, moral, destitute loser. You have sold this state to China. China owns this state. We need look no further. I mean, we could if we wanted to, but we need look no further than COVID. You sold this state to China during COVID. You locked the state down. You require people to have all kinds of PPP, all this, masks and sanitization. And where did you buy the masks from? China. And then what did we do with the masks? Turns out the masks weren't really good. Remember what you did for San Francisco when President Xi came over? Don't be talking about President Trump being friendly with other foreign leaders when actually he's just doing his job. And you're selling out the state to the Chinese. The Chinese own the state. Y'all, if you wonder why we act like a communist state, the communists are running the state. Chinese and South American communists, and Governor Newsom has sold this state to them. And I do believe that as these investigations continue, you're going to find a lot of Chinese money in Governor Newsom's, Governor, I do want to say Governor, in Governor Newsom's pocket. Control yourself, sir. Pathetic. All right, hit play. We're having fun.
Ventures in countries where his own administration is simultaneously making policy. His personal fortune has skyrocketed by $4 billion since making his return to office.
Pause.
This is the best.
Sir, the president does not take a salary. Second of all, President Trump entered the White House as a very wealthy man. He will continue to make money passively, obviously, because he can't do it directly as president, as a very wealthy man. He's never not made money. That's what he does. Second of all, again, sir, do you really want to be talking about net worth and how suddenly someone's net worth has increased? We're going to go through, because I got a story here. I'll read from the story. We're going to go through talking about net worth, my friend, or somebody who's on the take from the state. Do we want to go back to COVID? Do we want to talk about how this man shut down everyone's restaurant and everyone's winery? Oh, except the one he owns in Napa? What a pathetic human being. He deserves everything that's coming his way. Go.
Today,
Projection.
my family and I can personally investigate me.
This
You can
body
harass,
language.
but
That
leave
sounds like
my wife
permission.
and
You mean the first
like to-
partner?
Right.
Pause. Democrats, led by your fake auntie, Mr. Newsom, raided President Trump's wife's underwear drawer. And I believe, it is my opinion, that they also planned to murder Donald Trump. So we're not taking any of this seriously. And we're definitely not going to fall for this idea that you're the great defender of your wife, when there is plenty of evidence to show that you have been holding multiple affairs over many years, allegedly. Everything this man says is a lie or projection.
So I think Gavin's in real trouble. This is very serious. You saw me break it down in that clip. This is very serious. Even the fact that he's admitting that this is going on, that's a big deal. And I find the spin he's putting on this to be very interesting. Spinning this as a Trump era investigation when this is a Biden era investigation. I don't know. Why don't you drop it in the comments? What do you think is going on here? Why would the Biden administration open this investigation in 2022? Why do you think that is? I think it might have a little something to do with the 2024 race and how Gavin was really peacocking at that time, because he had given us all these COVID restrictions and he's really proud of that. And I think that's really where he started ginning up his idea to race, to enter the presidential race in 2028. So that's what the landscape was in 2022. Of course, we know who was vice president in 2022, another famous Californian, Kamala Harris. I wonder if she had something to do with this. I mean, she does have experience in the Department of Justice. She is the former AG from here in California. So she knows a little bit about opening and closing cases. She doesn't know anything about trying cases. So I don't think she's ever been in a courtroom, actually. I don't think she tried one case as an attorney general. But she does know a little bit about opening investigations and what that might do to a person's reputation and to a person's future prospects in politics. So maybe there's that. Maybe that has something to do with it. We have not heard the beginning or even near to the end of this story, but I want to continue on with this because I did tap into the reporting of Jennifer Van Laar from Red State. She's a friend of mine. Red State, of course, as many of you know, is my former home. I worked there for many years. They do great work, and Jennifer Van Laar has been collecting a dossier on Governor Newsom and his wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, for 7+ years now, 7 to 10 years. She's been doing this work and kind of in anonymity. A lot of people haven't been paying attention to her reporting, but it's very relevant now. So take a listen to what Jennifer has found in her reporting. And this segment's going to help you sort out a little bit more and give you a little more clarity as to what some of the charges might be here and what some of the issues are with the Newsoms.
Let's read this. Gavin Newsom says he's under investigation by the DOJ. Sources say it's related to his wife's taxes. Jennifer Van Laar has been saying this forever. She told me way back in the day when I didn't even cover California politics. She was telling me about this. She says California Governor Gavin Newsom made the world's craziest possible presidential campaign announcement Monday when he dropped a 5-minute video saying he's under investigation by the DOJ, claiming the investigation is politically motivated because he's considering running for president. I love how Jennifer framed that because it absolutely was wild. It was wild. Like, I never would have predicted this. This is a guy who never tells us anything. He doesn't come to give us information. This is why I think this is a really big freaking deal. He never tells us anything. He's been kind of MIA, popping in to make little announcements about his book tour or give little jabs at President Trump. But for the most part, we haven't known what this guy is doing or where he's going for the last couple of months. This guy's been MIA, and then yesterday he comes out and makes this announcement out of the blue. Guys, this is a real big deal. He's in trouble. He's in big, big trouble. The typical California Democrat playbook is to ignore because they're going to get nothing but help from their mainstream media allies. For him to come out and even admit this is happening, but then to spin it like the Trump administration opened this investigation, yes, he's in big trouble. And Jennifer Van Laar has been talking about Jennifer Siebel's fake NGOs forever. All right. Jennifer Van Laar says Newsom doesn't say exactly what the investigation is allegedly about, but says that it is directed at his wife and references a grand jury. Newsom says that he's joined Tim Walz, Adam Schiff, James Comey, and Jerome Powell on President Trump's hit list, and defiantly says Donald Trump picked the wrong target. We have nothing to hide. Sir, I don't think that's a group you should put yourself in with. Like, that's crazy to me too. That's wild that you would. This is what they're circling the wagons. Look at their team. Look at the team he's picking. Tim Walz, Adam Schiff, James Comey. James Comey's going to prison. James Comey is going to, maybe he won't serve prison. I think he is, because I don't think Trump's going to settle for anything less. He hates James Comey because James Comey is a traitor, and Trump's been calling him a bad cop for a decade. He's a bad cop. That's what Trump always says. He's a bad cop. We know Adam Schiff is a bad cop. Adam Schiff he's horrible, and he has pedo eyes. I'm just saying that's what he looks like. I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm just saying. You put Adam Schiff's eyes right next to Senator Scott Wiener's eyes and tell me what you see. This is not the group for you to align with, my friend. He is going down. Town Hall's Cameron Arsan reports that there are multiple investigations that they started in California, not Washington, D.C., stemming from whistleblower complaints, and that they have to do with Jennifer Newsom's taxes and with Newsom's former chief of staff, Dana Williamson. That's a huge, huge deal. If you don't understand the Dana Williamson connection, it's really a lot for the layman to understand. So it's hard. I think it's not a story that's gone viral because you can't really break it down into bullet points. It's money laundering, and it involves Xavier. I always want to do that too. It's Javier Becerra, his campaign manager, who was also Gavin Newsom's chief of staff, and it involves money laundering to get this person, Dana Williamson, from California and Gavin Newsom's staff to Becerra in D.C. and his staff. Okay, so it involves that. But it's money laundering, and what they did to get her there was blatantly illegal. Not even just like, oh, we might make she's pleaded guilty. That's what I think. I think the reason why this has popped up now is she's singing. This is a big deal. It's a really big deal. Okay, according to multiple years of tax returns reviewed by Red State, that would be Jennifer Van Laar at Red State, Gavin and Jennifer Newsom file taxes jointly. So if the investigation has to do with taxes, it has to do with the both of them. Oh no. The Newsom's full tax returns from 2017 to 2020 can be viewed at this link. You can follow the story there. Red State has exclusively reported on the Newsom shady real estate deals from Sacramento to Marin County. Back in 2020, we reported on the questionable transactions surrounding the acquisition and refinancing of the Newsom's $3.7 million estate in Fair Oaks, California. And to date, no explanation has been given. And she quotes us, Somebody paid $3.7 million in cash through an LLC for a 12,000 square foot, 8-acre estate in December 2018 that was transferred or gifted to California Governor Gavin Newsom and his wife shortly before the first couple obtained a $2.7 million cash out mortgage loan on the property. A year after originally breaking that story, we still don't know who that somebody is and whether the transaction was legal or not. Newsom spokesperson Nathan Click has given two diametrically opposed explanations as to the origin of the cash, and neither holds up to scrutiny. So let me just translate this for you, right, in case you're not sure about the runaround, about the connecting the dots here. The Newsoms bought a house for $3.7 million cash. You know how difficult it is to buy a house for cash. They bought it for cash. They bought it through an LLC. So I'm going to assume their LLC. $3.7 million. That's a lot in cash to give. How do you come up with that much cash? Well, what's interesting is that Van Laar's investigation found out that right before they dumped that $3.7 million cash on the house, $2.7 million came into their LLC from an unknown entity. So suddenly, a month before they buy a house for $3.7 million cash, they get $2.7 million through their LLC from somebody that they don't know. And then they buy this house for cash. Now, that's not proof, but if you are an auditor, you're looking at that and you're going, that's suspicious. I can freaking guarantee you that if you did that here in the state of California, the state franchise tax board, which is our IRS, would be on your ass in 5 seconds. Since Newsom said the investigation was specifically directed at his wife, it could have to do with the purchase of a $9.1 million home. So here's a second home. $9.1 million home in Marin County through an LLC controlled by Jennifer Siebel Newsom. Maybe they're investigating you because your finances, this is a tweet from Jennifer Van Laar, maybe they're investigating you because your finances don't add up, or because your wife's LLC received a deed to a $9.1 million home a week before the LLC was even created, while you still had your Fair Oaks home. How was that LLC capitalized? The grant deed from the company controlled by Daniel Pritzker. Does that name sound familiar to you, everybody? A grant deed from a company controlled by Daniel Pritzker, a longtime Democrat donor to Siebel Newsom's LLC, is dated November 6, 2024, but her LLC was not formed to November 12. There's no indication of any mortgage on the property until February 2025, when the LLC obtained a $6.5 million mortgage, and she and her parents all had to sign personal guarantees as members of the LLC. The mortgage for that property is over $42,000 a month, with an annual property tax bill of $118,000. I'm scrolling down a little bit past these tweets. The Newsoms still carry a $2.6 million mortgage on the Fair Oaks home. The payments for that mortgage are over $13,000 a month. While the Newsoms wineries have been successful. Okay, so sir, excuse me, how dare you criticize Trump for having businesses? While Newsoms wineries have been successful, those assets have been in a blind trust since 2018, and the couple's total annual income has averaged $1.4 million. Out of that, the couple paid an average of $450,000 a year in taxes and $200,000 a year to domestic workers, according to tax returns, in addition to property taxes, private school tuition. They don't send their kids to public school in California, and mortgages, not to mention all the other costs of maintaining a home, raising 4 kids, bringing their total unknown expenditures to more than their average total income. Given the chatter about this investigation, it seems that we'll know sooner rather than later what is going on. Thank you, Jennifer Van Laar, for that report. I highly suggest you go find it, dig into all the details. Here's what she's saying. They're spending way more than they're making.
All right. It sounds like the Newsoms have some cash flow issues. we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on this one. And again, I just want to say, I want to go on record right now, right here, as saying this is a really big problem for the Newsoms, and I don't think they're going to get out from under it. And I do think that some of this is going to splash back on Javier Becerra as we get closer to the general elections. I genuinely do. Dana Williamson is the key here. She is the connecting factor here. Don't close your eyes on this case, and don't think that we're out. We're not done here in California. We are not done. Things are just getting going. We haven't even certified the elections from the primaries yet. Once the election gets certified in Los Angeles and in the state, I do think then we're going to see a lot more moves coming in from the federal DOJ, but they need to let those results get certified first. So this is not looking good for the Newsoms here at all. And, can you tell I'm happy about that? I think this is a good time to be a Californian. I really do. All right. Well, after that report that might chap your cheeks, we might need a little moisturizer. And I just want to take a break from the typical political fare on this show to talk about healthcare and skincare. I know this sounds like I'm setting up a sponsored segment, and I'm not. I am not sponsored by this next woman that I want to introduce you to, but I do feel strongly, as we're getting new revelations about what the COVID vaccine actually could have been carrying, the damage that it's done to Americans, and the way that was covered up by the Biden administration and our health officials, people we're supposed to trust. I've really come lately to understand that our health care is in our own hands. We've been separated from that for so long. We have outsourced it to a third party. I've really been thinking a lot about it. And so a friend of a friend gave me this tallow balm, and it was amazing. And I loved it so much. I wanted to have the CEO on my show because I knew that this was a small business. I think that's another big deal. Buying American is going to become a really big deal in the near future. It already is. So it's a small business here in America, ingredients that you can depend on. And I thought, I would really like my listeners to understand how your health isn't just about your doctor's appointments. Your doctor is important, but we have seen through COVID that you can't always trust what the authorities are telling us to trust. So I really want you to check out this next segment. Check out this product, Holy Cow Tallow Balm, and, listen to why Tristan says she started this business. Just a little treat, just a little break from the melee in the middle of this show. It's just a few minutes. Check out Tristan Foote and Holy Cow Tallow Balm.
Well, Tristan, thank you so much for joining me today. A friend of mine told me about your product line. And lately, I'll have to be honest with you, ever since COVID, I have been really interested in learning more about natural products and taking control of my health, my own health. But tell us a little bit about how you decided to take control of your own health.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here. So, Holy Cow, we are a beef tallow skincare brand. So all of our products are made with grass-fed, grass-finished beef tallow. And that is really weird, right? So we used to be weirdos just in our kitchen making this, and now it's grown into a full-blown business where over 100,000 different families have actually tried our products. But if we rewind back about 4 years, my husband and I started this, and we went to grow our family, and we had 3 miscarriages kind of right off the bat. So we were struggling with some infertility, but without really having any answers as to why that was happening. So we are both kind of go-getters. We wanted to take into control what we could. And the 2 things we figured out we could control were what we put in our bodies and what we put on our bodies. So started with diet and then switched over to skincare. And once you start looking into skincare, you realize that all these products that are pushed to us are full of synthetic fragrances or a bunch of junk that your skin doesn't actually need. And so we believe that skincare should be simple. So we went back to the basics and, like I said, started making beef tallow products right in our kitchen.
You basically just nailed how I was thinking. Just the idea of like, wait a minute, how is what I'm putting on my skin? Like, you never think about your skin being an organ. So what were you discovering as you were looking at that kind of stuff?
Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing I discovered was in a lot of our food and a lot of our skincare, our ingredient lists are so long. They are paragraphs and they're paragraphs, and that is just not how it's supposed to be, right? And it's things we can't pronounce. We have no idea what we're putting in and on our bodies. In reality, you look up what these ingredients are, and it's just a filler or something synthetic that is gonna be so bad for your body. Like you said, is our skin is our largest organ, and everything just soaks right into our bloodstream.
I want you to talk a little bit, Tristan, about tallow, because tell us what tallow is.
Yeah, so beef tallow it's not too glamorous, I'm gonna be honest. It is rendered beef fat. So rendered beef fat, we use what's called the suet, and that is the beef fat that is around the kidneys. So it's the highest quality of the beef fat.
Oh,
And
I didn't know that.
beef tallow is actually just full of so many vitamins and nutrients that your skin actually needs and craves. It is so healthy for you, and it's a return to the way that things used to be.
I think we need more of that. I think we need more of that.
It's great. This is my third long-term pregnancy. You can't see, but I am 35 weeks pregnant, so I'm gonna pop here any day.
You look amazing.
Thank you. And I have 0 stretch marks. And I'm sure you can attest to the fact that as soon as you put beef tallow products on your skin, you can feel it immediately, how good it feels. It's so moisturizing and hydrating.
Yes. So this is what it looks like. And I've got the Holy Cow whipped tallow cream. This was it's just a cream. It was so smooth. And so I, immediately used it on my hands, and it almost has an oil-like quality to it as well that the tallow doesn't have. It's light. Mine isn't scented. And ladies, because I'm really concerned about my hands drying up now that I'm 51. You're pouring water on a dry ground. It's sucking it back in. How do you get this so smooth? It's amazing.
Yes, thank you. That demonstration was amazing. Thanks so much for doing that.
I'm a believer.
I love it. So yeah, we do whip our tallow balm, which is why you kind of get that lotiony consistency. But yeah, so you said there's a little bit of oily feel to it. We do use jojoba oil, which is really hydrating for your skin. So that's why it's in there. And you have the unscented whipped tallow balm. So we just love our whipped tallow balms. I know you mentioned our sunscreen earlier. So last summer we were going to parks and pools, and I could not find a sunscreen where I could understand the ingredients or I could pronounce them. And so I started doing research into these sunscreens, because obviously the sun is a gift from the Lord, but sunburns are not good for us.
Right.
So
they hurt.
Yeah, they hurt. So I started looking into sunscreens and realized that there are so many chemicals, and the FDA actually only recognized 2 ingredients as generally safe and effective to protect us from the sun. Only 2 ingredients. So this summer, we were really excited. We just launched our beef tallow-based sunscreen, and we use one of those 2 ingredients. It's non-nano zinc oxide. So all the other chemicals that are in these sunscreens, like we mentioned previously, they soak into your bloodstream and can cause horrible things. I mean, there's a lot of studies out there, but cancer being one of them, carcinogenic, ingredients in these chemical sunscreens. So yeah, our sunscreen is just launching. It is very popular right now, which is awesome. We're really excited about it.
It is important to stay healthy, to stay connected to your health. And that's why I really wanted to talk to you today, Tristan. I think what you're doing is really awesome. And I think this is the future for America, which is small family-run businesses providing for their own communities. And so I really appreciate what you guys are doing. This is Holy Cow. I have the whipped tallow balm. And again, this is not a sponsored segment. I am not getting paid to do this. I genuinely think you should go and check this out. It's going to change how you look at moisturizing. So Tristan, please tell people where they can find Holy Cow, and where they can find more about you online.
Yeah, so you can go find us online at our website, shopholycow.net. Again, that's shopholycow.net. That's where you'll be able to find all of our products, the whipped tallow balm, sunscreen. We've got some lip balm and some beef tallow soap. So go check it out and let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Tristan. I aired the entire interview on our YouTube channel, and I'll also try to put it up on our Facebook page as well. It was a longer interview, and she talked a lot about how they came to realize they needed to take control over their own healthcare, and why it's important for you to know what you're putting on your skin, your hair, in your body. A lot of these products are building up in our systems. So we don't see the issues that they cause until much later down the road. So I wanted to share that with you. Again, it's not a sponsored post. I tried the product. I loved it so much. I thought you might want to know about it too. I'll have all her information in the show notes. And, I highly suggest if you're not going to buy from her, I'm not suggesting you buy from her, but I do suggest thinking a little more deeply about what it is you're consuming when you buy products at the store, what's on that ingredient label, because taking back control of our health, of our own health, is going to be a big part of taking back control of America. And I really mean that. I really do. It was my pleasure this week to welcome the chairman of the Orange County Republican Party, Will O'Neill, to the show. I wanted to have Will on to talk about some of the election results here in Orange County over primaries, what we can expect, what the party is doing. This is a long form interview. I'll put the whole interview separately on YouTube. See, I did cut some of it, but not much. I didn't cut much because I do think it's important for Orange County Republicans to hear from our chairman, hear what his plans are and his strategies. And if you don't think he has plans or strategies, then you need to know that too, so you can reach out, because we're all in this together. But I have to say, I'll say this at the top before I hand it over to Will and myself, that I am impressed with the strategies of the OCGOP. They are taking this election cycle very seriously. I can say that personally. I've been in and out of the office. I'm always making inquiries. I'm always interested in what they're doing. And I ask questions too. I don't take anything for granted. And I find Chairman O'Neill will to be, very open. He's there if you have questions and concerns. And again, if there's a theme to this show, it's just making sure you are connected to the mechanisms of your own local government, your own health, all of that. You need to know what's going on. So check out Will O'Neill. Listen to the whole interview. He actually had some really interesting things to say about the Orange County Supervisor's race and other races that you should keep an eye on that are going to be going on for the November election.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for joining the Orange Report today. And I want to talk about some of the election results in Orange County. But before we get started, sir, please tell us what a chairman does. I don't think a lot of people understand what the chairman of a party, Republican or Democrat, is and what they do, besides wear ties and go to meetings.
I'm a year and a half in being the chairman of the Republican Party of Orange County, and I'm still learning the answer to that question on a daily basis. Out of 58 counties in California, that only 2 of them actually have a full-time staff and headquarters like Orange County does on the Republican side. So a lot of my time is spent fundraising, making sure we can coordinate. So our main job at the county level is increase the number of Republicans in the county and help Republicans get elected. And so a lot of our effort is spent coordinating those efforts.
So is the chairman sort of the moral center of the party? This is a lot of complaints that I get, that perhaps the chairman isn't activist enough. And I used to make that criticism a lot. It changed when I started going to Central Committee and understanding what the process is. But is that, again, I see a lot of people, I'm going to challenge the leadership because I feel like they're not being activist enough. That's not necessarily the chairman's position.
No, it's not our role. To be kind of what would be considered the moral center of a party. Frankly, the fact is, most chairmen of county parties, I've had a friend of mine sort of pejoratively put it as running a car dealership, right? Where like you're not going to be controlling the brand. The brand is controlled by the national folks. And in particular, when you have the presidency, the president is going to set the stage for the most part for what the leadership of the party looks like. So at the county level, our job really is to make sure that we are interacting with a whole lot of different constituencies. So look, I love our activists. They've got the energy. They're the ones that go out and knock on doors. They're the ones that spend a lot of time talking to people about why they should be Republican. And so I spend a lot of time talking with our activists and make sure that I'm equipping them with as much information and tools and whatnot that to help folks be effective because you want to make sure that you have a ton of energy that's being channeled in a positive direction. And to the extent that I can help with that, that's a big part of it. At the same time, I'm also dealing with candidates. And look, in Orange County, we have 3.2 million people. We're bigger than 18 states. And so that is a really big group of people. And so you're going to have a totally different vibe on all 34 cities. And so when you're talking to people about being a Republican candidate in like Laguna Beach, it's going to be a different feeling than if you're in Newport Beach, let alone Garden Grove, Anaheim, Santa Ana, Mission Viejo, all over the place in Orange County. So, I'm going to be working with candidates and trying to recruit them in to make sure we're competing in every seat. And then, of course, you're also working with donor base. And so, donor base is all over the map. Some people are, really hardcore activist donors and then you've got your country club donors. And so you're going to be working with everyone across the board. So on a daily basis, I am interacting with people who have very different feelings, within our tent. And so I've got to be able to work with a lot of people. So to your point about, am I the moral center? No, but I am trying really hard to make sure that we are moving the party forward, because in California, we are in the extreme minority. Orange County remains kind of a line in the sand, and we're a really purple county. We're trying to push back on that.
Yep. Many different points of view within the party. And I think we saw that during the gubernatorial primaries. And it was a difficult go for us. Now we're past that. We know we have a Republican nominee, so we're moving on to that. But it was really rough. I don't think a lot of people know it was a really rough go as we were deciding between Bianco and Hilton. And now we're trying to move forward. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know the sheriff, Sheriff Bianco. I got to know his wife through this primary process. The two of them are great Americans, true patriots. And then you had Steve Hilton. I also got to know Steve. I really like Steve. And so both of them did a great job of making sure that we were increasing Republican turnout, Republican passion. Toward the end there, it got pretty nasty. They were trading blows for sure. But it is, to your point, an indication of, at some point you have to kind of remember we are not enemies within the tent right now. I mean, in California, we are such an extreme minority when it comes to the state Senate, the state assembly. And then we haven't had a statewide officer in over a decade, whether it's governor all the way down to insurance commissioner. We are not winning. And so when you are talking about kind of coalescing in around and looking to the future in Orange County, oftentimes what we do is we compare ourselves to Los Angeles, because when you're looking at Los Angeles right now, you see a community as a culture that is beset by homelessness. Crime is a real problem. Cities are constantly increasing taxes, making it a lot less affordable to live there. And you have people fleeing. LA County, by far the biggest county to lose population because people are just leaving. They don't want to be there, which is insane when you think about all the advantages naturally California, especially Southern California, have, but people are fleeing from the policies that they're seeing. And so we are at least competitive, really, really competitive. And we had a great election cycle in this last primary in Orange County for the Republican Party. But we've got 1.9 million registered voters in Orange County. That's big. 3.2 million people, 1.9 registered voters. LA City, though, has 2.2 million registered voters, and only 326,000 of those are Republican. It is a really big, deep blue city right now. And so if we're going to have a statewide race where we can actually compete, we got to be able to turn around LA, Silicon Valley, the Bay Area. I mean, those are that whole coastal area of California is giant and very, very blue. So, but you look at it and you just say, why did Spencer Pratt take off so well? He was able to point to all the issues that people are having that they are so frustrated by. And so at some point, people have got to get past their partisan blinders on the left and start saying, boy, I know it could be better. And I could actually look at Republican cities and counties that have, a lot of Republicans in them and they're doing better. I think I want that.
Well, yeah. And we're seeing that Angelinos do. They're moving to Orange County in droves, right. And they're changing the makeup of this county. It's why we're purple. Well, let's drill down a little bit here in Orange County on what's going on. I think one of the things that makes you one of the more effective chairmen that I've seen is that you have a strategy for flipping offices, for winning offices. One of the things I heard you say recently is that you have no intention of leaving any offices open. In the past, the Republican Party has not been very aggressive at recruiting candidates. And it's hard. It's a heavy lift. I get it. I was a candidate at one time. It's difficult, and it's difficult to ask people to wade into that. But you have said there's a lot of offices in Orange County that we have previously left empty. We're not even competing for those offices. And you say that's got to stop. We've got to compete every time, everywhere.
Yeah, no, we do. And look, there are going to be some seats that are obviously easily winnable for Republicans. There are going to be really hyper competitive seats. Number one, you need to at least have some people exposed to Republican discussions. There are bubbles where people, frankly, don't even know a Republican, or at least have not really heard from someone knocking at their door to talk to them. We need to change that. Because you're going to, at least, if you want to change hearts and minds, you at least need to actually have the conversation and talk with them. And in a county as large as ours, you can't have just a small group of activists trying to get out and talk to as many people as possible. Candidates need to have the incentive to do that as well. Let's say you've got 55% of the area is Democrat, 30% is Republican. So that's going to be in D plus 25, and the rest are NPP, no party preference, or others. So in a situation like that, that is a really hard lift to ask a Republican to go out and win a D plus 25. But if that person runs an effective campaign and can narrow that gap to, let's say, D plus 15 or D plus 10, and they still lose, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be probably converting some people over to the Republican brand. But most importantly, they're going to be helping a lot of the overlapping areas, because we have a lot of assembly races. We have a lot of supervisor races. We have state Senate races. We have Board of Education races. We have all these races that overlap our entire county. And so part of our responsibility at the Central Committee, and my role in particular as chairman, is making sure we're coordinating a lot of those campaign efforts across the county so that the rising tide lifts all boats. And so that's my responsibility, is trying to get out there. And look, we have hundreds of spots we have to recruit for. And so at the Central Committee, we created a tiered system where I was at the top, but then we had 3 people below me and then 5 people below them going out and actually asking and trying to recruit for all those hundreds of spots. And we've been doing that for over a year. So there are still spots. We still need people in a lot of areas, and I'm actually going to be sending that out to our Central Committee soon. But we are about a month out right now in June from having filing opening for all those seats. And we've done a great job early on of recruiting for especially the most competitive seats, but we need to make sure we're running someone in every spot for the reasons I just laid out.
Let me ask you about a couple of key races here in Orange County that we've been following and that you as the chairman have been really concerned about. First and foremost, I have never heard a person talk so much about Orange County Board of Supervisors in my life as Will O'Neill. Before I even knew who you were, that's what I was hearing coming out of your mouth. You are particularly perturbed about what has happened to our Board of Supervisors in the previous election. That board flipped. And you have targeted, the GOP has specifically targeted a seat. It's actually my seat in District 5 for the Orange County Board of Supervisors with Katrina Foley, who's a Democrat. And I live in the reddest part of this county. I live in the reddest part. She's representing me. Total accident. Never should have happened. And now she's dug in. Explain the Katrina Foley situation to me and why you think it is really important to flip that seat back to what it was, red.
Yeah, well, it should be red. So that seat is an R plus 5. And so that means there are, I believe, tens of thousands more Republicans than Democrats. But for the last 5 years, it's been represented by a Democrat, and a hardcore Democrat, someone who loves taking photos with Gavin Newsom, loves taking photos with Joe Biden, which, by the way, we love showing voters that actually during this last election cycle. But look, Katrina Foley's in that office because the Republican Party has been the stupid party for too long. And what I mean by that is we kind of sometimes just kind of have hands off, or we're not aggressive enough, making sure that we have only one candidate in a race where we need to flip that back. And so in 2021, when Michelle Steele, who was a congresswoman, was a supervisor, became a congresswoman, there was a special election to replace her on the Board of Supervisors. And a lot of people got behind then State Senator John Morlock, who, but the problem was, 2 more people jumped in. And so over 90,000 votes went to the Republicans. A little over 50,000 votes went to Katrina Foley, and she beat John by a couple points because we split the vote. It's a huge problem. And then fast forward to when she was standing for re-election in 2022, in our primary system in California, in a county race, if you get 50% plus 1, you win. You don't have to go to the November race. And so in that cycle, instead of coalescing around one person, the OCGOP had their candidate, another donor organization called Lincoln Club had their candidate, and then there was another person, another Republican that jumped in. and they split the vote again. Over 90,000 votes went to Republicans. A little over 50,000 went to Katrina Foley, but they split the vote so badly, no one got over 50%. We go into the general, and the candidate that ultimately got through, which was then, former state senator Pat Bates, she was so battered and bruised coming out of it, she limped into the general, and Katrina won by a couple points in that one too. So we got to stop doing this. And so when I came in as chairman, this was one of my priorities was, look, in a race where we can absolutely flip it, we are done with this vote splitting stuff. So in this cycle, we didn't have any credible Republican running against Katrina Foley other than our candidate, which was Diane Dixon, an assembly member. And so Diane ran, Katrina ran, and then we had a third candidate named Lucy Velema, who didn't raise any money, had no name ID. Her title was special education instructor, and she really just wanted to talk to people about how bad she viewed the family court system in California as being. Her problem is she jumped in, she took votes away, and ultimately Katrina and Diane are going to end up right around 47%. I think Diane wins if Lucy doesn't run. This is the problem with this sort of effort. Lucy, I told her early on, you are a spoiler. And she said, I don't want Katrina in office. I said, you're going to help have that happen. So we're going to move into the general. But
I just want to say congratulations, Lucy. I hope you feel good about yourself. Anyway,
yeah,
go ahead.
It's exactly what I told her was going to happen. But, to your entrenched point, once someone's an incumbent, guess what happens? Government unions spend a lot of money on you. So Katrina needed around $900,000 of outside money from government unions just to hit 47%. So going into the general, we're going to spend a lot of time on that. Why? Because your Orange County Board of Supervisors, or if you're in California, any other Board of Supervisors, controls the budget for your sheriffs, controls your budget for the district attorneys, decides, where the priorities need to be for your Orange County Registrar of Voters. So in our county, for example, where, just to show you the difference, we have 2 Republicans and 3 Democrats. Our 2 Republicans, Don Wagner and Janet Wynn, put forward a resolution last year that said, we direct the Orange County Registrar of Voters to remove all non-humans from the voter roll.
Reasonable.
Why did they have to do that? Because a dog was literally registered in Orange County, and their vote counted. The dog's vote counted in the recall of Gavin Newsom. So when they made that motion, guess who voted against it? Katrina Foley. So this is the example you can give over and over again of how important it is to have a conservative leadership. By the way, just real quickly, we have a second race that we could also win, which is Tim Shaw, our Orange County Board of Education member, is running for an open seat against a Democrat named Connor Trout. That one's going to be hotly contested as well. That's replacing Doug Chafee in the open seat. And speaking of Doug, who's a Democrat, he actually endorsed Diane Dixon because he can't stand serving with Katrina Foley.
Well, listen, I have had the pleasure of being in a couple of meetings with Katrina Foley, both at the Orange County Board of Supervisors and here in my community when she comes to visit. And she's a terrible person. I have never seen a legislator who's so rude and cruel to their constituents. I've seen her insult mothers holding their babies while they talk to her about their issues in the county. So I'm all on board for striking Katrina. And I think there's something to be said for what Katrina said just a few weeks ago from the dais, saying, everybody knows I'm going to win this seat again. I'm going to win primaries. I'll probably win right out. But if I don't, I'm definitely going to win the seat again. What does she know that we don't know?
I think she was just banking on that much government union support. She was telling everyone behind the scenes she was going to win in June. She didn't. And so, that facade that she's been putting up of invincibility has been pierced pretty badly. So we're looking forward to November. There's some stuff that we held back knowing that we were likely going in to November. And so, we need to take back the Orange County Board of Supervisors. We need to protect all of our incumbents on the state assembly and state senate side. And we've got a lot of races to win.
What are a couple of other key races that you are watching as the chairman for November here in Orange County?
Diane Dixon is going to be vacating her assembly seat in 72, which represents Huntington Beach down to kind of Laguna Beach and over east. And so that one actually matters a great deal to us because we have Gracie Vandermark, who's been a great council member in Huntington Beach, former mayor. And she's going to be our Republican running against a guy named Chris Cluey. I will just tell you, anyone who Googles Chris Cluey is going to learn a lot about someone who, mocked Charlie Kirk's death, assassination, a person who purposely got arrested at a city council race, city council meeting, has actually while he was in the NFL, he was a punter for the Vikings. Sports Illustrated reported that he was making jokes about the Penn State child molestation cases. I mean, this is going to be an interesting guy because there are a lot of establishment Democrats who have already lent their name and endorsements to him, and we need to be paying a lot of attention to it. But we've got Tony Strickland, who is now facing re-election, and he won his special election on the state Senate side early last year in 2025. Now he faces election for the first time in that seat. So for re-elections. But look, there's tons of them. Like down in San Clemente, they have their first elected mayor for the first time. We have already endorse Victor Cabral. I look forward to campaigning with Victor. We've got Stephanie Klopfenstein, the elected mayor in Garden Grove. We're going to be working really hard to get her reelected. There are a lot of races all over this county that need a lot of attention, so we'll go anywhere, anytime. That is the nature of being a California Republican. You're used to getting shelled and taking hard questions. So we're a little bit more battle hardened, and I'm excited.
I think that speaks well to the future of the party, at least in this county. Before I let you go, Will, just really quickly, give me your elevator pitch. Why should I want to run for office? I'm just a regular old person in Orange County. I don't want a lot of trouble with my neighbors, Will. I don't want, I might have to take off work. It's going to mean a lot for my family. What's your pitch?
Yeah, the pitch is pretty straightforward, which is you can do more to affect your community in local elected office than just about anything else you could do. First, be a great mom, dad, be a great spouse, be a great community neighbor. But if you really want to take the bull by the horns and really shape a community going forward, you want to be able to talk about the issues that are affecting your neighbors. Because the truth is, and this goes for everyone, if you can name 5 U.S. senators that do not represent your state, but you can't name 5 people that represent you on your local city council, you are not prioritizing your politics correctly, because those people are the ones that are affecting your life day in and day out much more than what's happening back in Washington, D.C. And so step up and serve. You don't have to do it for a long time. You definitely shouldn't be a professional politician at the local level. You should be someone that is giving back and serving. And in Orange County, at least, we will help you with that. So if you are a Republican running for office and want to come in and talk to us about getting the endorsement, I will tell you the resources available to you post-endorsement are now much better than they have ever been. We've made some reforms. We're certainly much more focused on the local level than we have been in a while. And so if you want to change your community in a really positive way, I can tell you right now, there's nothing better than running for school board, water board, city council, community college district. I'd love to talk to you about it.
I think there's nothing I can add to that. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for stopping by.
Thanks, Kara.
Thank you, Chairman O'Neill, for spending so much time with us. And I held him a little long. I maybe told a little white lie that I was only going to interview him for a few minutes, but I find him to be a really interesting guy and a pretty solid leader for our party. So far, Will, you can mess up. That can happen too. But for now, you've got the Orange Report stamp of approval. No, really, thank you, Chairman O'Neill, for stopping by. We appreciate that. All right, well, that is about it for our show today. But before we go, let's play this report from CBS News on the king tides washing into Orange County this week. It's pretty bad out there. Take a look.
Well, happening now, king tides continue to hit our coastline, damaging structures and burying beaches. CBS LA's Rena Nakano shows us how residents in Orange County are bracing for the season's destructive waves.
Doheny State Beach is getting swept up as king tides catapulted rocks onto the parking lot.
This beach used to go way out here.
Just north at Crystal Cove and Newport Beach, the weekend waves toppled lifeguard towers, buried bobcats, and splashed into the historic cottages. Down at Capistrano Beach in Dana Point, giant waves destroyed staircases and seawalls, leaving chunks of lumber all over the shore.
Those king tides come in and we go through this every time, unfortunately.
Matt Larmont says he sees his hometown beach shrink every year.
Eventually something's got to be done about all the coastal erosion.
Longtime resident Harry Gent describes a time when this county beach was much more than a pile of boulders.
There used to be a basketball court and restrooms, and actually it came out quite a way, but yeah, it's all gone now.
Since the county tore down the Seaside basketball court in 2019, the area continues to be carved away. This past weekend's King Tides launched rocks over the picnic tables and into the parking lot. So Lartmont felt he had to do something.
So I decided to go down and check on some family friends' houses that aren't always around and make sure everything was okay.
His drone video shows waves splashing 20 feet high on top of some roofs. When he came in to check on his friend's house, he says the water was relentless. His friend had netting on the deck and storm shutters protecting the windows, so there wasn't major damage. But not everyone was fortunate.
I didn't know it was completely obliterated like that.
The neighborhood saw street flooding, and some lost their seaside staircases.
He tells me, sadly, he's already come to terms with the fact that his favorite beach probably won't be here in the near future.
It's a bummer, but just a part of the life now down here.
In Dana Point, I'm Rena Nakano, CBS LA.
Everybody, please be careful when you're heading to the beach. I know I don't really have to say this to the locals because we all know how the tides are. But people who come from outside, the tourists who come in, I mean, we heard that terrible tragedy about the little girl who was pulled out to sea and they were visiting. Please, if you have friends and family coming in, just give them fair warning about the beaches. You can see how those tides are eroding the beaches. They come in and those waves come in so quickly. You don't know when a set is coming in. And especially if you're not used to the ocean, you don't understand the rhythms of the ocean. You don't understand the habits of the ocean. They can come up so quickly. Please, I know it looks so tempting, but don't go down there and put your feet in the water or think you're going to wade up to your knees and it will be just fine. It will be up to your chest before you even know it. And as you can see, a lot of our shoreline has been washed away so far. So we're going to have to deal with that when these tides, if and when these tides recede. But I just want people to be really careful out there and remind your friends and family who are out of towners visiting. The ocean looks beautiful. It is beautiful and it looks really inviting, but it isn't always safe. I guess just like California, actually. All right, be careful out there. It's time for us to go. Thank you for tuning in. Please follow us everywhere. You can follow me on X at Kira Davis. You can follow us at Orange Report OC everywhere. We broadcast live to X and YouTube and Facebook on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. So if you're looking for something to do, just make sure you're signed up for those platforms and then you'll get the notice when we come on live. We do it at 11 a.m. on those days. And then of course we have these Friday shows, which are a little more packaged for the Orange County crowd. We appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. If you have a tip, if you have something that you want to send me, send it to our address. I'll put that on the screen for you. Send it to us. We'd like to follow up on tips, what's going on in your local community. Or did you go to a city council meeting and record something interesting? Send that into We Want It All. It's time for us to say goodbye. But as always, don't ever, ever forget that sunlight is the best disinfectant. So go out there and bring on the sunshine. See you next time.